Hi everyone, and welcome to The Big Story, a brand new daily show where we talk about the hottest topics of the day right here in the heart of the newsroom. My name is Alyssa Wu, and I'm coming to you live from the Straits Times. We are streaming on Facebook and YouTube. If you're on YouTube, do click that bell button to be notified whenever we go live. I'll be joined very shortly by my newsroom colleagues, where we'll discuss the topics that got you talking today. Now, the Great Singapore Sale kicks off today, but some domestic workers were already having sales of their own. On their days off, some of them have been selling fake luxury handbags and watches and also unsafe slimming pills. From 2016 to last year, 86 maids were taken to task for moonlighting, as told to us by the Ministry of Manpower. I have here with me Kelvin Young. And you spent a few weekends at Lucky Plaza, not for shopping, but to work on the story. So Kelvin, you were there for research. Maybe you could tell us what it was like there.
Yeah, sure. So I spent a few weeks following some of the maids at Lucky Plaza where the shop spaces were rent out to maids to sell goods. So some of them were selling fake handbags, fake wallets, unsafe slimming pills and birth control pills. So some of these are actually sold for quite cheap. So you have your handbags and wallets selling for $10 to $20, but at the boutiques you can find it for $300 or more. And for slimming pills, birth control pills, these are not approved in Singapore, but you can actually find them at Lucky Plaza for $15. So the business for such maids, it's quite good. So their sideline businesses can rake in several $100 in profits each month, which is more than their pay as domestic helpers. Yeah.
And the average pay for a maid here in Singapore, it's about how much?
It's about $600 or so. Yeah, and I think for some of these helpers, they find it very good. A good way to actually earn money on the site. Yeah.
Okay. However, if they are caught, there is a high price to pay.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so basically for those who are caught, they can be fined up to $20,000 or jailed up to 2 years or both. And also at the same time, they will be barred from working here in future. They will have their work permits revoked. So I think for domestic helpers who are caught, they are actually at risk of having all these punishments put on them.
So maybe you could define what moonlighting is according to MON.
So a helper who is deemed to be moonlighting, if she is working on her own accord for other employers, such as working as a hairdresser in a salon, or if she's employed on her own, so such as performing freelance cleaning elsewhere. Yeah.
And there are also some who moonlight as KTV hostesses. Is this a common thing?
It's quite common. So there are those who moonlight as KTV hostesses. There are also those who take on part-time cleaning jobs. So there are also others who they work in restaurants or they work for their employers' businesses. So for example, home catering. Yeah.
But you said you were quite surprised. You were struck by their entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes.
Right?
So some of them, you can see that they're quite enterprising. So on weekdays, they work for their employers, doing chores and stuff. But on weekends, they are their own bosses. So they're actually online selling things. They are looking out for deals and stuff. So I think it's quite enterprising. You wouldn't expect from someone who's actually working at home. Yeah.
But that would mean they will be working 7 days a week. So certainly there are risks involved when they are moonlighting, right?
So beyond the punishments, many of them are already working long hours. So it could be a problem when some of them use their days off to do extra work. At the same time, you find that they may become fatigued. So that would actually put themselves and even others at risk. Yeah.
Now you said that they draw quite a few $100s in terms of profit. And aside from the good money involved, why else would they want to moonlight?
I think for most of them, actually they just want to earn more money to send back home. Some of them have plans for the future. They hope to save up for things that they hope to buy in future. At the same time, there are some who are hoping to go home early to their loved ones, return home earlier than expected. So I think these are some of the reasons that drive them to find new ways to earn more money.
Now, since moonlighting is a crime, what do you have any solutions to prevent more domestic helpers from moonlighting?
I think for some people, they will raise the question whether we should raise the pay of our domestic workers. But I think for raising the pay, that will only solve part of the problem. But it's also important for employers to actually be more understanding, to understand what their employees are going through, to have conversations with them, to understand their situations back home. At least with that, they would know what their employees are doing on their off days.
Well, thank you so much, Calvin, and we might see you at Lucky Plaza again this weekend, maybe.
Thank you.
So on to our next segment. On Wednesday, there were 37 scheduled flights that were delayed after unauthorized drones were spotted flying near Changi Airport. The operations of one of the airport's 2 runways were also suspended intermittently between 11 p.m. on Tuesday and 9 a.m. on Wednesday. I have here with me Zaki Abdullah. Hello, you've been on the show a few times already, and you can share more about what can be done to minimize such situations. Right? So drones flying into restricted airspaces, it's becoming a bit more of a common problem. Why is this the case?
I think the obvious answer is that drones themselves are becoming more common. They're cheap, they're easily accessible, and people use them for photography and things like that. So I think probably there's a good chance that these kinds of incursions might happen more frequently in the future.
For the drones that were flying near Changi Airport, is it known who they belong to?
So far, no. As far as I understand it, investigations are still ongoing, and there hasn't been any news about who the pilots are or why they were there and things like that. Yeah.
And could you explain to the viewers and to me why are drones near such places a serious issue?
I think for places like military bases, there are obvious security concerns. And besides that, drones can also fly into the path of aircraft. They can damage the aircraft. They can get sucked into the engines. And obviously, I think the problems there are quite obvious. Several
airports also have had this. It's not just Singapore, overseas as well.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think from what I understand, there have been quite a few cases in recent months. Probably the most prominent is the one that affected Gatwick during the Christmas period last year. It shut it down for about 3 days, affecting more than 1,000 flights.
And this was in London, and this was during Christmas.
Yes.
So that's
right.
A real frustration.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So what happens if drones were to fly into restricted airspaces? Can they expect the drones to be shot down immediately, or what would happen?
The RSAF has talked about some of the anti-drone technology that they have on hand. So they've shown off things like nets and jamming guns that are meant to bring down these drones if they fly into these restricted airspaces. But these are not without their own issues. From what I understand, the use of jamming, for example, can interfere with radar or air traffic signals, and obviously this can cause problems to other aircraft besides the drones.
So then what are some measures that should be taken to regulate drone use, and then so that we can make sure that these will also not disrupt air traffic in Singapore?
I think the rules here are already quite strict. I think you face up to $20,000 fine or a year in jail if you fly within 5 kilometers of an airport or a military base. So I think that should probably deter more people from flying their drones wherever they want. The other things I think that have been talked about is a sort of an air traffic management system. This is something that's being explored for drones as well, and the use of geofencing, which is I think your term was force field.
Yes,
yeah. So basically, how it works is that if a drone flies where it's not supposed to, basically it can just be shut down and the drone will come down to the ground. So that's one of the technologies that's available, I think, right now. And what the government is looking at stricter regulations on drones, and one of the things that they are considering is mandatory registration. So if drones go where they're not supposed to, you can easily identify who the person is and things like that.
Well, thank you so much, Zaki, for sharing more about this. And those were our top stories for the day. For more news and videos, do log on to straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Alyssa Wu. Thank you for watching The Big Story. Have a good weekend and see you on Monday.